Good afternoon, lovely people. It is a pleasure to be here with you. I am at the Mother Temple. I am Inanna, and I am ready to pray. God and Goddess, I thank you so much for this lovely day. Thank you so much for safe travels and the ability to come to the Mother Temple for the fellowship and the service this weekend. Thank you so much for all the celebration that we're going to have for Day's birthday and just all of the fun that is in store. Please help us to be loving and kind and compassionate, to find ways that we can bring light into the world and better serve as hands and feet of Lord and Lady Christ. In the name of Elohim, I pray. Amen. It is a little bit late, but the noontime peace contemplation today, it is Friday, so it's the day before the Sabbath, the sixth day. Our God and Goddess, immanent and transcendent, send to all your angel of peace. To the kingdom of the earthly mother, send your angel of joy. Isn't there so much unjoy around us? And we could just sit here and put joyful vibes into the air and really make a difference in our world just by doing that alone. I wanted to, well, actually, let me put this up here. The bookstore is open right now. Usually at the beginning of my videos, I've been playing different songs, and there are 3 CDs here. The first one that I actually received was Essene songs. These aren't mine, but I got gifted these. Essene songs by Essene friends, and the artwork is really cool too on here. There is the dancing green lady herself, and on the back, it's a pretty cool, really cool artwork. That has a lot of songs, including the one that you just listened to today. And then there's also these 2 more recent ones, Essene Celtic songs, featuring lyrics by Dave Greenleaf and vocals and lyrics by Miss Tree. Some really cool artwork on here as well. If you order, or if you call in the bookstore and you just want to order the CDs, I think you are going to have to pay for shipping and handling. But if you order, like if you call and order the Megillah and say that you would like a CD as well, they will likely just gift it to you. So then the Essene Reggae and Transcendental Spice by Friends of Day. Some of you guys might know some of these artists, like Shimshai. One of the people from Mount Shasta that I know actually brought them up. They're like, oh yeah, Shimshai. He, like, when I introduced the Megillah and told him that I was getting involved with the church, he's like, oh yeah, I know them. They're like my friends. So anyways, that over there is the info for the bookstore. So you can call on Sunday. They are going to be closing a little bit early because it's going to be the monthly service for the Mother Temple. And if you are not signed up, you can reach out to High Priest Day of Greenleaf at esseneinfo@aol.com and ask to be added to the email list. It's just a Zoom link you can pop on this week, this month, this weekend on Sunday at 4 p.m. Super excited. I am going to get to open up the service with a song that I recorded with my friend Dave. And not only that cool thing, but I get to give a speech on why I am vegan. And yeah, I'm super excited to be able to share that and learn more, because I know that there's other awesome things besides veganism that we're going to get to talk about. We're going to have a potluck here before I get to make a chocolate cake for Day's birthday, and I'm a little bit nervous about it because I haven't made one before, but there's plenty of great recipes out there, so I'm confident that I will make something delicious. Anyways, let me just say hi in the live chat since I've been chatting away here. David D says the Book of Ishshah. Awesome. Let's hear it. And where are you recording from? I am at the Mother Temple in Florence. Like I said, church is this weekend. So again, if you haven't gotten the link for the Zoom, I would encourage you to. Without further ado, let us get into the Holy Megillah, the Nasarean Bible of the Essene Way, translated by Dave Greenleaf and available at essene.org. Also, this number right here on your screen, if you are interested, they're open right now. The Book of Ishshah. I generated this picture of her based on the description just because she's just really cool, really inspiring woman that we are going to learn about here. Here we go. The Book of Ishshah, A Day in the Way. Chapter 1, a preamble. Behold the sublime beauty of the loving relationship between Isha and the creatures of nature. Yea, behold the example of the lady of the forest, she whom the animals loved as their mother. Lo, even the insects and the plants loved Isha as mother. The wisest of humankind also embraced the green lady, though the ignorant rejected her. But though the ignorant reject her, the dancing green woman rejects none. Yea, she of the green robe loves every child of creation as her own. Wherefore it was Isha who, after her life as a human, became the messenger angel of the Mother Earth. Yea, consider well her example, for I tell you truly, her example is the path to be walked by all those who walk the way. Here follows one day in the life of Isha, while still she was human. Yea, behold, one day in the way, a day in the life of Isha. Clear eyes will see that in one day, Isha altered forever the lives of several creatures, and those creatures altered the lives of others. And those ripples continue to land upon the shores of the present, for such is the way. And this one day in the way was for Isha not unusual, for every day she walked the way. Yea, each day she blessed the lives of many, forever altering the lives of some. And it is her wish, yea, even her prayer, that you will join her on the path of blessing. But she loves you regardless, for that is her way. Receive now a day in the way. If you remember also, Isha ended up marrying Abdiel, and they met at the beginning of the story of Rapha. Really cool story there. Chapter 2, Isha and the frog. In the early days of Cush, the frogs did not eat insects. Lo, the frogs ate tiny fruits from a plant with heart-shaped leaves that grew beside ponds. Yea, there were many ponds in Cush and many frogs. But behold, due to the acts of violence of some men, violence began to spread throughout Cush, and many of the animals began to eat each other. And this was when frogs began to eat bugs, all except one frog. And this is the story of that frog and the great work given to him by Isha, the lady of the forest. Behold, the name of this frog was Ezra, which means help. And Ezra was feeling sad, for lo, at each pond he visited, he found the same sad things: frogs eating bugs. Mostly they ate flying bugs. Yea, they would stick out their very long tongues, the same kind of long tongue that Ezra used for picking tiny fruit, and catch the flying insects. And then they ate them. And this made Ezra very sad, for he thought it was mean and unfair. Ezra said to himself, "These bugs simply want a drink of water from the pond. We have plenty of water to share, and we have plenty of fruit to eat. We have no need to kill for our food. How unfair this is for the bugs." Behold, in his search for a pond with frogs who did not kill bugs, Ezra became a traveler. Yea, he journeyed throughout Cush, hopping from pond to pond, hoping to find a pond of peace where frogs and bugs lived in harmony. But try as he did, he never found such a pond. Instead, everywhere he journeyed, he found frogs eating bugs. Then, one bright summer morning, when most frogs were sleeping, Ezra hopped over to a pond and saw an interesting thing. He saw a beautiful woman with red hair and green robe sitting beside the pond. But she was not just sitting, she was doing something with her hands. Ezra sat and watched closely. After some time of watching, Ezra realized what the woman was doing. Behold, she was reaching her hands to the water and rescuing bugs that were drowning. Ezra knew that, indeed, many bugs drown each day in that pond. He had often seen their bodies floating atop the water. And lo, sometimes he saw them struggling for survival, moving their arms and legs wildly, trying to get out of the water. Usually, they drowned. He knew that these bugs had simply been trying to get a drink of water, but had fallen into the pond. But what Ezra did not know was that just before his arrival, the beautiful woman had sent forth a prayer for help. Her name was Isha, and she was a Nasarean priestess, and she had been on her morning walk when she came upon this pond. Lo, on such a lovely morning by such a lovely pond, Isha felt called to sit and meditate. And so she sat beside the pond and began to meditate. But behold, within the silence of her meditation, she heard a tiny voice pleading for help. Not with her physical ears did she hear this voice, but with her spiritual ears. Her eyes were drawn to the pond, and there, upside down in the water, wings flapping wildly, was a honeybee struggling not to drown. Within her, Isha knew that this was the source of the cry for help. She reached her arm toward the water and, with one finger, lifted the bee from the pond and sat him on the shore. Thank you, buzzed the bee as he dried himself and then flew away. Isha sat beside the pond for some time, rescuing other drowning bugs. And then she spoke the following words of prayer. Jaja, my God and Goddess transcendent. Elohim, my God and Goddess immanent. I need help. Please, if it is your will, send me a helper who will stay at this pond and rescue these drowning bugs so that when I leave, the bugs will not be without help. After observing a while, Ezra hopped over to the beautiful woman. Yea, he sat down right in front of her and began to speak. For behold, Ezra sensed within himself that this woman, unlike most humans, could understand his language. And he was right, for Isha was blessed with a special gift. She could understand the languages of all living things. Yea, even the grass, the trees, and the insects. And she was the best friend of all living things of nature, loving all equally. Which is why, upon her death as a human, Isha would become the messenger angel of the Mother Earth. How fitting that we're reading this on Mother Earth Day. I didn't even plan that. Behold, as Ezra spoke to Isha, what a cool way to honor her. She listened carefully. He told her of his sadness, how he was the only frog left that ate fruit instead of bugs. He told her how sorry he felt for the bugs that were killed and eaten by his fellow frogs. He told her of his endless journey to find a pond of peace where frogs and bugs lived in harmony. He told her of his endless journey to find a pond of peace where frogs and bugs lived in harmony. Isha listened not only to the words he croaked, but also to the unspoken words of his heart. Then, lo, Isha spoke, saying, your name is Ezra, which means help. And behold, just before you arrived, I sent forth a prayer asking for help. You, dear Ezra, are the answer to my prayer, for I have a great work for you to do, if you accept. Ezra replied, croaking happily, it is the desire of my heart to serve you, my lady. Already my sadness has turned to hope, for I have long desired to help. Tell me, my lady, how can I help? Isha replied, behold, you have been eating fruit from the plant with the heart-shaped leaves that grow beside the ponds of Cush. Pick a large leaf from that plant and make it your boat. Yea, float upon the pond and use your long tongue to rescue drowning bugs. If you do this work, your other work will be revealed. Isha then baptized Ezra and taught him many things. When she kissed him goodbye, Ezra felt like a true prince. And lo, Ezra took his duty seriously, for as Isha had prophesied, as he performed the work of saving drowning bugs, his other work was revealed. Behold, Ezra realized that he had been wrong to travel from pond to pond, always searching for a pond of peace, and always being sad not to find one. He now realized that rather than turn his back on the unpeaceful pond, he should help at least one pond become peaceful. And so Ezra went about making his own pond more peaceful. He rowed his heart-shaped boat from shore to shore, rescuing drowning bugs. Most of the adult frogs thought he was crazy, but a few of the young frogs were curious about his bug-saving mission and began to gather around him and ask questions. One young frog asked him, "Ezra, why do you eat fruit, not bugs?" Ezra explained that fruit was the original food of frogs before the fall of man caused violence to spread throughout Cush. And so it was that Ezra the frog became a preacher of the Nasarean Way. And though most of the adult frogs thought he was crazy, behold, there was one who thought otherwise. Yea, one beautiful female frog, well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, did not think Ezra was crazy. Lo, she thought him fascinating. Her name was Bina, which means understanding, and she became the wife of Ezra. Ezra was now a very happy frog. We talk about finding our holy work, and there you go. If you are interested in starting somewhere with some random acts of kindness, you could always find a body of water and sit there and meditate and pray and try to help drowning bugs get out of the water. Actually sounds quite relaxing and fulfilling to be able to save some lives. But chapter 3, Isha, the starving man, and the thankful bee. After leaving Ezra the frog to his duties at the pond, Isha had continued her daily walk. Soon she came upon a man lying beside the path. Lo, the man seemed to be in pain, so she asked, "May I be of help?" The man replied, "I fell and injured my leg many days ago. Since then, I have been unable to walk. And because I've been unable to walk, I've been unable to obtain food. The pain in my leg is terrible, and I am starving. Can you help?" Isha examined the man's injured leg and saw that it was dislocated. She could easily heal this, and did so, pushing the dislocated leg back into alignment. Behold, the man's pain vanished, and he felt great relief. But the man was still in need of food. Isha knew that there were no fruit trees in this area, so she kneeled and offered up a prayer. Yea, Isha prayed for food for the hungry man. Lo, Jaja works in mysterious ways, and sometimes our prayers are answered in ways we would never imagine. Behold, Isha's prayer was answered, but in a surprising way. Buzzing overhead when she uttered the words of her prayer was a bee. Not just any bee, but the very bee that Ezra had witnessed Isha save from the pond. Yea, this was the bee that had nearly drowned. And this bee, now flying overhead, heard the words of Isha's prayer. And he understood the words, for behold, not only could Isha understand the languages of all living things, but all living things could understand her voice. What a cool power, right? Gift. Hearing her prayer, the bee told her, "I will bring food." Isha could not imagine how such a tiny creature might bring enough food to satisfy a large man, but she had faith in the promise of the bee and waited for his return. Lo, soon the bee returned, and he was not alone. Every bee from his hive was overhead, each carrying a bit of honey. One by one, the bees flew over the open hand of the hungry man, filling his hand with honey. 3 times they filled his hand with honey. After this meal, the man had energy enough to walk the many miles to his home, where he had plenty of food. Hopefully he had something to balance out all that. All of that honey. Really cool though, the same bee. Chapter 4, Isha and the ant and the raisin. As the man walked away, Isha noticed that he accidentally stepped on an ant. After the man was gone, Isha examined the ant. He was not badly injured. His leg was sore, but not broken. Isha placed the ant on the palm of her hand and prayed for his healing. And the ant was healed. She put the ant on the ground, and he happily returned to his work. The sun was now high in the sky, and Isha perceived it was time for her noon contemplation. For, being a Nazarene priestess, She followed the path of the Bahir Shabbathayim. Yea, this was her way. And so she performed her noon peace contemplation and meditated. And after her meditation, she was hungry, for this day she had not yet eaten. Then she saw an amazing thing. Behold, marching toward her on the ground was what looked like a walking raisin. The raisin continued to move toward her, then stopped before her feet. Then, lo, Isha saw that this wasn't no walking raisin. Rather, it was an ant carrying a raisin. Yea, it was the very ant whose leg she just healed. The ant, speaking in the manner that ants speak, said, "I bring you lunch, my lady." He then dropped the raisin at her feet. Isha thanked the ant and ate the raisin. Yea, this day Isha ate only this one raisin. In truth, as she afterward told the ant, this was the best meal she had ever eaten. Chapter 5, Isha and the Fly, which is where this beautiful artwork comes from. I forgot to upload the one about Ezra the Frog, but that's okay. Isha continued on her way. Just keep that up. Yea, she walked the path until she came to the hut of a man and woman who she often visited. Yea, she had been teaching them of the Nasarean Way. This day, Isha told them a new lesson. Behold, as she sat at a table in the home, speaking of the Nasarean Way, a bothersome fly darted around the room. Isha was not bothered by the fly, but her hosts were, for it kept pestering them. Yea, the pesky fly landed on the man's head, and then on his wife's head, and then on the table, then on the man's foot. Always the fly escaped just before the man could catch her. Finally, feeling very bothered, the man got a small branch, as she often used for swatting flies, and tried to kill the fly. Isha said, "If Sister Fly is bothering you, you need not kill her. I will show you another way." Then, behold, Isha got up and opened the door of the home. She said, "Now, with your mind, direct Sister Fly out the door. Yea, within your own mind, see Sister Fly so depart." The man and his wife began to concentrate, and lo, the fly flew out the door. Sister Fly no longer pestered the people, and yet, through the compassion of Isha, her life was spared. Chapter 6, the Fly and the Injured Man. Perceiving that she had narrowly escaped with her life, Sister Fly felt very happy. She flew a distance from the home, danced in the sky, and said, "Because I was saved, I feel like saving another." Looking below, she saw her opportunity for a good deed. For behold, she saw a small grass fire starting to spread, and lying in the path of the fire, seemingly sound asleep, was a man. She must wake him. She must wake him, or he would die. Now, the fly did not know it, but the man was injured and had been knocked unconscious. And the story of the man was as follows. The name of the man was Peter, and he was a lover of nature, caring for animals and trees and all living things. For though he had never met Isha, he had heard stories about her and had been inspired. Peter was a warrior, for he waged a war against hunters and fishers. But this war was waged not with weapons, but with pranks. For he fought not with spears or arrows, but with tricks. Yea, he would hide animals from hunters and erase their tracks and leave false tracks for the hunters to follow. And he made sounds like animals so that the hunters followed him instead of the animals they hunted. And he warned animals of the approach of the hunters. And he disturbed waters just before the arrival of fishermen so that the fish would flee. Yea, Peter waged a nonviolent war, and his enemies were the hunters and fishers. What a dude. So cool. Behold, some hunters thought Peter was a ghost and feared him. Others, having caught glimpses of him darting between trees, believed him to be half animal and half man, for he appeared to have antlers growing from his head. But in truth, Peter was just a man who loved animals and wore a hat of antlers on his head. Yea, Peter wore a hat of antlers, for he had made a promise to a dying stag. And here is the story of that promise. 3 months earlier, before he had launched his war to defend animals, Peter had been walking in the forest. There he came upon a dying stag. The stag had an arrow in his neck and was bleeding to death. Peter, who had long been a lover of animals and an abstainer from flesh meat, removed the arrow. He began to tend to the wound. Then, lo, the stag spoke to him. The stag said, "It is too late to heal me. I am dying. I have only a few breaths left." Peter, amazed that he could understand the words of an animal, replied, "Who did this to you and why?" The stag answered, "Hunters roam the forest. They kill animals for both food and sport. The man who shot me desires my antlers as a trophy. Even now he is following my trail of blood and will find me. He will cut off my head and display my antlers on his wall. You are kind, but it is too late to save my life, for behold, I have lost too much blood. But there is one thing you can do for me, if you would." Peter replied, "Tell me what I can do for you, good stag." The stag answered, "Cut off my antlers now before the hunter finds me. He will then have no desire to display my head upon his wall. Lo, I do not wish to be so displayed. I want you to keep my antlers as a gift freely given. May they be a blessing to you, good man." You got to think about the way that hunters or those animals, their heads just frozen on your wall. It's quite psychopathic, but yeah, creepy. Creepy thinking of them still like, detaching from that physical body and like taking time and like potentially, staying in that traumatic space and like, yeah, being conscious of it. Just bad energy, very bad vibes. Speaking from his heart, Peter replied, "I will do as you ask. Yes, and I will make a hat of your antlers and will wear them as I oppose the foul deeds of the hunters. Lo, I am only one man, wherefore I cannot protect all animals from hunters, but I will protect as many as I am able. Yea, I will wage a war against the hunters, though I will use no violence. For behold, violence only begets more violence." The stag said, "You are brave and true. I die proud that such a man will wear my antlers. May my antlers be a sign unto the animal world that you are a friend. Peace be unto you." Then the stag closed his eyes and breathed his last breath. Though his body died, his spirit ascended unto El-Cush, where he was given a new body. For there are many animals in El-Cush, and all are vegetarian, and none hunt or kill. Peter did as he had promised. Using his gardening tool, he cut off the stag's antlers. Yea, and he bound them to his own head, making them his helmet for the war he would wage. And then he launched his war. Lo, for 3 months he waged this war, playing tricks on hunters, protecting the animals they hunted. But then he was injured. Yea, he was knocked unconscious. And that happened as follows. Lo, it was not Peter's method to directly confront hunters, for he carried no weapons and could easily be killed. Wherefore, instead of direct confrontation, he relied on pranks. He hid animals from hunters, erased their tracks, and made false tracks. And he made animal sounds so that the hunters followed him instead of the animals they hunted. And when the hunters slept, he snuck into their camps and broke their weapons. After 3 months of this war, Peter was famous, being hated by the hunters. Some thought him to be a ghost. Others, catching a glimpse of him, darting between trees, thought him half man, half animal because of the antlers bound to his head. But one day, Peter had no choice but to directly confront a group of hunters, and they attacked him and knocked him unconscious. And that occurred in the following manner. Hiding behind bushes, Peter spied a group of hunters. One of them was about to slit the throat of a young lamb. Peter had no time for his usual pranks. He must instantly confront the hunters or the lamb would be dead. Peter shouted, "Stop!" Then he stepped into the open and confronted the men, saying, "Do not harm that lamb." The men mocked Peter and laughed at him. One of the men took Peter's hat of antlers and threw it to the ground, saying, "So this is the ghost of that is half man and half animal. He does not look so scary without his foolish hat." While the men took turns punching and kicking Peter, the lamb escaped, running into the forest. Then one man took a club and clobbered Peter in the head, knocking him unconscious. The man said, "Light a fire near his body. That way he will burn to death and no one will know we killed him." Another man lit a fire and said, "This fire will spread quickly. We must flee or it will burn us." The men ran away. It was then that Sister Fly flew overhead looking for a good deed to do. Remember, she was feeling very happy, for Isha had saved her life. This happiness made her want to help another. Then she spotted the fire spreading near the sleeping man. Quickly, Sister Fly flew down and landed upon Peter's nose. Lo, she danced upon his nose, purposefully tickling him. Peter awoke and Sister Fly flew away. Peter never knew of her good deed. Peter, now awake, noticed the fire. "This fire must be extinguished before it spreads," he said to himself. In the distance, Peter saw an elephant, but with only one tusk. The day before, Peter had saved this elephant from a hunter. The hunter had made the elephant sleep by shooting her with a poisoned arrow, then cutting off one tusk. He would have cut the other tusk off and then killed the elephant, except that Peter intervened. When the elephant awoke and realized that Peter had saved her, she vowed, "If ever I can be of help to you, call me and I will come." Now, seeing this very same elephant in the distance, Peter called. The elephant, recognizing his voice, ran to Peter. Seeing the fire, the elephant ran to a nearby pond and filled her long trunk with water. Then she sprayed that water on the fire. She then called several nearby elephants to come and do likewise. Lo, the elephants came and helped, and the fire was soon extinguished. It might seem that the life of a fly is of little value, yet the saving of a life of a fly by Isha led to the saving of the life of Peter by the fly. And then Peter went on to save the lives of countless animals. Such is the way. Chapter 7, Isha and Peter. Having smelled the fire, Isha left the home of her hosts and resumed her walk. By the time she reached Peter, the elephant had extinguished the fire. Isha picked up Peter's hat of antlers and placed it upon his head. Lo, the lady of the green robe knew of this man with antlers, though she had never met him. For behold, her animal friends had spoken of his good deeds. And when the man of antlers beheld the lady of the green robe, he knew her, though he had never met her. For he had learned or heard many tales of the lady of the forest, she who loved all creatures as her own. For behold, it was from hearing stories of her exploits that Peter had first conceived the notion of a ministry on behalf of the animals. Isha said to Peter, "My animal friends love you. Yea, they sing of you." Peter replied, "It is your example I follow. For behold, hearing of your deeds inspired me to minister unto the animals." I knew not what form that ministry would take until I met a dying stag. But already I was called to such a ministry, for I heard tales of your love for all creatures and desired to follow your way. And I have desired to meet you and your holy husband, the great Nazarean teacher Abdiel. Lo, I have heard of the wisdom of the Nazareans, but have never met a Nazarean until now. Please take me to your village and train me to be a priest. Yea, and train me in the healing art, so that I may better heal the wounds of the animals hunted by men. Then let me return to the forest to defend animals from hunters, for behold, that is my calling. Isha said, Lo, I agree to all that you ask, and more. You will be my general. Yea, you will lead my army. And that army is all those who will defend nature from the hands of the spoiler. Without violence, you will wage war in the name of the Lord and Lady. You will defend the defenseless. You will give refuge to the hunted, and you will perplex the hunter. For behold, Isha loves the hunter, but hates his deeds. Notice it says you'll perplex the hunter, right? We're not killing anybody. Lo, your name is Peter, which means firstborn. And that is fitting, for you are the first soldier born to my army. And your title shall be Pen, which means cornerstone and leader. For you are the cornerstone of my temple and the leader of my army. So you shall be called Peter Ha-Pen. And the name Peter Pen will be revered by all animals and cursed by hunters. Yea, the great Pen will be given immortality, that he may live in the forests of this world forever, until the last coming of the Lord and Lady and the end of this world. But be warned, you are but one man, and in this fallen world, few will join your fight, and many will join the army of hunters, for such is the way of a fallen world. But do not give up or become disheartened, for behold, every animal you save is cause for celebration in heaven. And in the end, we will be victorious, for such is the way of the Lord and Lady. With Peter the Pen at her side, Isha continued her walk. Yea, she led Peter up the path to the Mount of Peace, to the Nasarean village. There, Peter met holy Abdiel and the other Nazareans. Then Isha continued her walk, beginning again the descent into Cush to minister unto all creatures, for that is her way. The little note here says, it's likely that this pen is the historic origin of the later Pan legends. It's also possible that this Peter Pen is the... Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's what I thought they were going to say, but it's a little bit redundant there, saying the same thing. Peter Pan stories becomes immortal, and we'll hear more about him in the future. Really, really awesome. Like, how cool would that be to go and just live in the forest and mess with hunters and fishers all day? And like, that's just your calling in life, to go and save animals in that way. It'd be really, really cool. Cool. I'm going to say hi in the live chat, but I'm going to be getting off of here relatively soon because, like I said, I am going to be making a cake for Sunday. I'm also going to be making, I think, these vegan angeled non-eggs. You take potatoes, like these little mini potato, well, not mini, but whatever, like small potatoes the size of like an egg or whatever. Anyways, you boil it and then let them cool down a little bit, split them in half, scoop out a little bit, mix that with like mustard, and some of the recipes I think call for tofu. The magic ingredient is actually black salt. I think it's Indian black salt. There's different kinds of that. Let me just make sure before I tell you that, because I don't want to lead you astray. Yes, a unique volcanic rock with a distinctive flavor. It is, yeah, it's sulfuric. Like, I remember we made them at, for I think Easter for a Shasta vegan community event, and I opened the bag of that black salt and I'm like, nope, I cannot do it. I passed that job on to someone else that likes eggs. I'm like, you guys like this stuff? I've never liked eggs. This salt, because it's so sulfury, but that's what makes it taste like eggs. And kind of ironically, like, yeah, eggs come from the cloaca of a bird, and that word literally like means sewer. Like, in anyways, let's not get into that. Eggs are gross, and I'm excited on Sunday to learn from Day why he's not going to be eating them anymore, because it's really cool. We all go through different phases of learning and coming about new information, and like it's always exciting when anybody goes vegan. I'm so excited for everybody to go vegan. David says every day she walked the way. Absolutely. There is no need to kill for our food. Even bugs have souls. I have killed so many bugs. Me too. Me too, David. So you're not alone in that. And yeah, feeling bad about it. And we can potentially go out and do things like Isha did to kind of help make up for that and show the bug kingdom that we have changed, and put out some happy vibes towards them. If you're looking for holy work, go be nice to some bugs. Obviously there are bigger things that you can do, but all of these different worlds, right? There's like the animal world, the plant world, the human, like different groups of species even. And we've done different forms of damage to each different species. And there's different ways that we can try to help make those relationships between humans and those species better by showing them love in different ways, taking spiders outside. There's different plants. That's my natural, like if I'm having an ant infestation or something, obviously there's usually a reason for these things, unless it's kind of a demonic attack, but that's a different story. But things like mint, I believe, and other plants, you can look up what deters different animals. So even when you're farming, like you don't need to use pesticides, which we already learned from the tribe of farmers that using harmful chemicals is not of the Nasarean way. But learning okay, the squirrels are attacking my plants. This one has bugs, whatever. Find what the deterrent plants are and plant those around. There's different smells. There's even different frequencies, which might like be more of a pain, because then you'd have to have like an actual device out there that's like playing a frequency all the time. But different ways that we can naturally interact with these animals in a less harmful way is definitely what we need to be doing. The same bee she had saved brought food from all bees from the hive. Yeah, isn't that cool too? And then the elephant summoned their elephantine friends. I don't know if that's a word, but it sounds pretty cool. Elephantine. Peter Huppen was just a man, but he was much more than your average men. Absolutely. Keeping the animal's head on your wall is truly psychopathic. Yeah, especially like when I was reading that, I'm thinking about how long a soul could potentially hang on to if you just refuse to move on and you're like just maybe a trauma or something, like different kinds of ways that souls could potentially like just hang out a little bit longer than they're supposed to. It's interesting to think about that, like your murder victim's corpse just hanging on your wall, and we've like normalized this. I remember one of the only friends that I ever spent the night at growing up, her dad was a hunter, and so they had like this giant stuffed bear in their living room. There was like the bear rug with its actual like head jaw type thing, like claw like hardness on your rug, which that's so stupid. I don't want to have to like walk past little hard things on my rug to like, anyways. It's just psychopathic how we're like keeping different body parts as trinkets and decorations. And I don't see even the way that different cultures would use all of the parts of the animal, right? And be like, oh, well, it's resourceful. It's like, for me, I'm not interested in touching any dead bodies. I'm not interested in learning how you can decompose this animal body to get sugar and, oils and just different, like, no, that's just, I love anatomy and like I want to learn about the human body and such, but that I don't want to learn how to dissect. That's black magic knowledge that I'm not interested in. So anyways, David says, do not harm that lamb, and the lamb escaped. You are but one man, and few will join your fight, but ultimately you will be victorious and get into heaven. Absolutely. David says, what kind of vegan cake are you making? And Kyle says, hello, Kyle. Are you using the recipe I sent you, or did you find a different one? When I just got here, I randomly just looked up one that looked really easy. So I'm not really sure which recipe I am going to use at this point. Let me look up the one that you sent me. Anyways, I will let you guys know how all of that goes. I'm excited for what the weekend holds. Like I said, I get to have a vegan chat during service Sunday at 4 p.m. Mount Shasta time. It's a Zoom thing, so you won't be on the screen or anything. You can, again, just put it on and dance or do something in the background and whatever. But I would love for you to jump on and hear the song that I recorded at the beginning, and also stick around for my little vegan chat. I hope that you all have a wonderful day. I will, better not do that, start playing a video. I will catch up with you tomorrow for the noontime peace contemplation, and I will look to see what the next reading part is. So we'll see. With that being said, I hope you have a wonderful day.
The dancing green leaf.